Good afternoon, welcome to Apprentice Wednesday and our webinar that is targeted at employees and possibly some employers who feel that they may be able to benefit from apprenticeship training. My name's Sam Garnham and I'm the Quality Manager at the Training Initiative and I'm going to be your host this afternoon. So today I'm going to discuss some fundamentals of what it means to actually be an apprentice and what an apprenticeship is. This will include the debunking of some common myths in relation to apprenticeships. We'll be talking live to an apprentice who will give us a valuable insight into their life as an apprentice and the benefits that they have experienced. And then finally, I'll introduce what is the exciting apprenticeship offer from the Training Initiative, let you know what we can deliver and how we work with employers to deliver a fulfilling and learning experience. So how does it actually feel to be an apprentice? What does being an apprentice feel like? So once you're on your chosen programme, you'll spend around 6 hours per week during your usual working pattern, learning new knowledge, new skills and new behaviours. That might be a combination of taught sessions, independent study tasks, attending webinars or other events, or receiving coaching or mentoring in the workplace. The skills that you gain could help to supercharge your career and help you achieve that next career progression, or help you retrain into a completely new role. Whilst completing your apprenticeship, you'll retain exactly the same rights as any other employee, including things such as holiday entitlement. You'll receive support from industry professionals. This is where we work well with your employers to ensure that you receive guidance from those who have been there and done it. So this could be colleagues in the workplace or our specialist tutors who all have significant sector experience. Equally, we can point you in the direction of external events or resources which can add further perspective to your development. You'll complete your apprenticeship by gaining a nationally recognised qualification after undertaking a formal endpoint assessment. But please don't panic. Throughout your learning journey, our specialist tutors will support you to prepare for this, and that could take the form of a presentation, an interview, or multiple choice examination. So you might have heard some pretty negative things, or you might have some misconceptions or preconceptions about apprenticeships and what their limitations are. Unfortunately, many of those are simply not true. And you might recognise some of the words or phrases in the Wordle that you can see on screen. And let's set some of them straight. So Mythbuster 1, apprentices are for everyone, young or old, experienced, or if you're a complete novice, office roles, trade-based or beyond. And we truly believe that everyone could benefit from the apprenticeship training, with programmes ranging from level 2, which is equivalent to kind of GCSE school age, through to level 7, which is the equivalent of a master's degree. There's over 600 apprenticeship standards available. And what's more, you can't actually be overqualified for an apprenticeship, as long as it's going to be teaching you within a new subject, meaning that you're going to be developing new knowledge and skills. It doesn't matter if you already hold a degree but would like to study towards a level 2 apprenticeship to start a new career. Mythbuster 2, apprenticeships are one of the most affordable options for an organisation to develop their teams. So some might think that actually they can't afford an apprenticeship, but with government co-funding for smaller employers and apprenticeship levy funds for those who are bigger, finances should not be the reason that you can't achieve an apprenticeship. If you or your employer are concerned about the cost of an apprenticeship, do get in touch with our team today to discuss how funding could support you. Mythbuster number 3. Apprenticeships in 2023 do not have to be delivered in the same old mode of 1 day per week out of the workplace or blocks of study, as is traditionally thought of when we think about apprenticeships. With the Training Initiative, you'll have frequent remote teaching sessions with a tutor, scheduled at a time to suit you and your employer. We'll also collaborate with your employer to identify other opportunities to ensure you receive the training that you need. So all said, there should be no reason, or certainly no good reason, for you not to start an apprenticeship. So it's all well and good me sitting here trying to sell you the benefits of an apprenticeship. However, it'll undoubtedly be more powerful hearing from a kind of real living, breathing apprentice themselves. And that's why I'm delighted to be able to welcome Emmett Morrissey from Real Technical Solutions to join us live this afternoon. Emmett began studying for a business administrator apprenticeship with us in March 2022. So welcome, Emmett, and thanks for joining.
It's no problem, Sam. Yeah, I'm happy to do this, talk a bit more about the apprenticeship.
Right, it'll be really useful to hear about your experience. So can you just tell me about how the opportunity to undertake your business administrator apprenticeship came about?
So I had never done an office job before, and my boss kind of he could tell there were some things missing from certain skills that I would be using. And he just offered to one day. He said, "Would you like to do this apprenticeship?" And I said, "Yeah, of course," because it's just another thing to have under your belt that's pretty helpful in terms of moving industry in the way that I did. So I went from working in a warehouse where there weren't these types of opportunities to doing something completely different in recruitment. And yeah, doing this has benefited me massively. And well, it's something that I can take to any job, business administration being quite flexible.
Good stuff. Were you already an employee at Real Technical Solutions before actually starting your apprenticeship?
I think I started this about a week in, so not for too long, but yeah, I was already here. It wasn't sort of on offer when I arrived. It was something that my boss Alan had to really sort of think about and decide whether it'd be worth it or not.
Yeah, but so yeah, 'cause I know again some people think that everybody is kind of recruited as an apprentice through an apprenticeship opportunity, but actually again that's another one of those kind of myths that I've just been talking about. A lot of people actually benefit from the apprenticeship to actually like further their career and fill their gaps, even though they were already employed by the organisation. So when your manager came to you and said about starting the apprenticeship, how did you kind of feel at the start?
Well, at first I thought it would be a recruitment apprenticeship, sort of dig a bit deeper into what I could be doing or improve on in recruitment. And then, of course, it turned out to be a business administration apprenticeship, which actually fits the side of what I prefer doing much better. Like I still do a bit of recruitment, but where I'm monitoring and getting different systems, getting in contact with people who run websites and other tools that we use. It's a lot better for me personally. I don't think I'd be doing that if I wasn't on this apprenticeship.
Good. And what have you learned so far from your journey as an apprentice?
In terms of what I've learned that's benefited me is not only that, I mean, when you get told that you're going to be learning whilst you're at work, you hope it's not going to be like school, which of course it's not at all. I've sort of learned to use resources much better, because whilst there's an abundance of support whenever you need it, a lot of the work is saying, okay, you have to go and find this for yourself and figure out how it's relevant, which sounds more like a challenge, but it's I think it's quite beneficial in terms of developing a sort of independency in not only learning but then also in your job. Yeah.
Good. So that's kind of developing the independent study skills. It's pushing you to take a bit of ownership for your learning, would you say?
Yeah. I was also worried that when I thought it would be a bit like school, because I was terrible at school. I think I just made it out with like 5 C's and something else, which were good enough to be able to do the apprenticeship. Yeah, the kind of support I've had has sort of confirmed to me that something like my time at school, it wasn't because I was bad at learning. I just didn't have particular things that are provided by the training initiative.
Okay, so what kind of things are they?
So there is constant support, not only from the training initiative and my tutor, but also from my boss. It's a lot more relaxed. You can do things in your own time, which I usually try and get things done pretty much immediately so that I don't forget about it. And when I mentioned I had ADD to my tutor, loads of support there. She said, if there's anything we need to do to change things around, make them a bit easier, just let me know. Which, to be honest, I haven't, because it's pretty much brilliant as it is. Yeah, I think the only other thing would be with my boss. I don't know if every other employer would be the same, but we're in a very small company, so him having a more diverse group of people to work with, because there's only 3 of us in the office. Having more diverse people to work with means that he can delegate different tasks to people, because he was running this business for, I think, almost 20 years by himself. So he was doing all the business admin, all the recruiting, pretty much everything. I think he had a friend help him with the accounting side of things, and his wife plays a part as well. I think she's more HR sort of, what's the word, related.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is quite beneficial to have someone like myself who can do more of the admin stuff and lift a bit of the weight away from what he does.
So it sounds like you're getting lots of opportunities to take what you're doing in your sessions with your tutor and actually bring them to real life within the workplace.
Oh yeah, and when I first started with my boss and the training initiative, I was more focused on the recruiting side, so picking up phones, going through CVs. I just found there was a lot to do with my apprenticeship that didn't really relate to what I was actually doing. So my boss clearly saw this as well and adapted things so that I become more helpful in terms of what I'm doing for the rest of the time.
Yeah. Oh, good
Yeah.
stuff. Excellent. So what would you say has been the main challenge that you've faced, and how have you been supported, or how have you worked hard to overcome that?
I think in terms of challenges that there's none that specifically jump to mind, but I do know that whenever I've been concerned about where I said about going and finding information yourself, times I've been concerned that maybe I'm not looking at the right thing, or I am looking at the right thing but the wrong bit, and getting support from my tutor to then where she'll then go, yeah, that's perfect, or well, you might want to look at this instead. That's pretty much it. And even then, I'd say it's not so much of a challenge in a negative kind of way. It's more interesting than that, I think. But otherwise, there's nothing else that that's really sort of stumped me.
It sounds like what you're talking about is you perhaps noticed that it's a bit of a step up from school level work, where you kind of not spoon fed everything, but you kind of, the expectations are very clear, whereas now you're given tasks where you need to, as you mentioned earlier, I suppose, be a lot more independent, but
Yeah,
you've kind of got the right level of support and almost hand holding to get you to the right conclusion, I suppose.
yeah, no, exactly that. I think what does help quite a bit is I did business studies at college.
Okay.
I didn't pass it, but there's quite a bit of a crossover with stuff I learned there and what I'm doing now. Obviously, it's a little bit more advanced, but that's it's quite helpful knowing the basis of what you're looking at and what you're supposed to be looking at. So yeah, I've found it is stressful at some points, but it's not impossible, I'd say.
Good. So, final question, and I know you're very busy, so it'll allow you to get
Yeah.
back to the day to day at Real Technical Solutions. But What would your advice be to anybody who's considering undertaking an apprenticeship?
I think my advice would be, one, do something that, or find an apprenticeship, or discuss it with your employer if they're wanting to put you onto an apprenticeship. Pick something that you do find interesting, because it is going to be with you for the rest of your life, and it should be something that you can walk away from saying, not feeling like you were forced to do it.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, because I'm quite lucky in the fact that the time in which I complete tasks, my tutor came back to me and says, loads of people don't get it done by deadlines, or don't do it properly, or just sort of do it as quick as possible, and then they've missed something, or it's not as good quality. And I would also, that's where I'd say, do it not ahead of everything else, but do it quick enough that it's going to show up in your record and your folders, that you are completing things in a timely manner. Which feels weird to say, because I was terrible with my organizational skills. Couldn't get things done on time, and actually doing this apprenticeship has made me really sort of pick that up. Yeah.
That's really important again, isn't it? Because that's another one of those kind of life and employability skills to be able to get by and develop your career, to be able to manage your time effectively and prioritize tasks. Well, thanks very much for joining me, Amit. I really appreciate it. And as I say, I think it's really valuable to hear your experience of actually being an apprentice. And yeah, just really appreciate you sharing that with us.
No problem at all. My pleasure.
Take care then, Amit. Thank you.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. So yeah, thanks to Emmett for joining us and giving us that fabulous insight into his life as an apprentice. So now I'm briefly going to talk through our apprenticeship offer at the Training Initiative. So firstly, we have our business and management suite of apprenticeships, which aim to create a pathway for future leaders across all sectors. So they're entry points from level 2 to level 5, and they can support you at every stage of your career journey. Within the world of digital and marketing, we can offer apprenticeships relating to IT, content creation, and even we have our degree level marketing manager apprenticeship. And finally, for those of you within the education and training sector, we offer apprenticeship programs to support the development of your career, whether that be as a teacher or in a support capacity. So the way we train our apprentices at the Training Initiative might actually be slightly different to how you've been taught previously or how you've experienced education. So we operate using what is known as the flipped learning model. And traditionally, learners in a classroom, in say at school or in college or university, you might have been familiar with, you kind of attend a class, you taught the fundamentals of a subject, and then you kind of sent away to add more depth to that understanding as like homework activity. But with flipped learning, we literally turn that on its head. So your tutor will set tasks for you prior to you actually attending an online workshop. So those might be tasks like reading an article, watching a video, for example. And the point of that is that when you attend that session and when you arrive in the online workshop, you already have a basic grasp of the topic. And the time you then have with your tutor can be spent really ensuring that you've understood the basics, but more importantly, it builds on them by stretching your understanding, enabling you to use what we call the higher order thinking skills and actually applying the new knowledge to your workplace, which is obviously really important as an apprentice. And the outcome of that is that you'll make more efficient use of the time that you actually have with your tutor, and it will give you that better grasp of the new knowledge and how it applies to the specific environment that you actually operate within. So what next? If you think an apprenticeship could be for you, there are 3 very easy steps to follow next. So firstly, consider taking some time to actually reflect on what we've talked about today. What apprenticeship might be best for you? Does the way that we deliver our training sound attractive? What skills would you benefit from developing? If you still think then that this could be the next step on your career journey, speak to your employer. After all, it will be their responsibility to look at the funding for training to take place, and it'll be their responsibility to provide you with the on-the-job support in the workplace. And you can direct them to our website to find out more. And finally, if you both, that's yourself and your employer, want to move things forward, get in touch with our team today. I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for joining this session today and considering the training initiative as your apprenticeship training provider.